We just got off the field now, today's practice, but going back to the weekend, it was good to get in the stadium. Thought that, there was some good and bad. Like any first scrimmage, we didn't tackle, so but everything else was scrimmage format. The offense probably outplayed the defense. Now we have a number of defensive players out for multiple reasons, so that didn't help. But it was good to see the quarterbacks did some good things. Ely had a really long run, and hit some big passes. So, especially to Elijah. So that part was good. But obviously, whenever you're making a bunch of plays, that means that you're not making them on the other side.
All right, we'll start us off with David.
Lane, can you kind of talk about the quarterback play on Saturday a little bit more? Maybe kind of assess what you saw out of John Rice and Matt each?
I thought Matt played extremely well. Hit some big plays, was really accurate. John had a little more up and down, did some really good things. Fumbled once for a big turnover, but both of them did some things to excite us.
Joe, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Coach Kiffin, I wanted to know what your assessment has been of Jonathan Mingo. I know he's a sophomore. I know it's the first time you've seen him, but what are some of the things that he's done to maybe impress, or things where you see, okay, he can take the next step this year?
He was one of the exciting guys, a little bit of off season where he got to work out. Just watching them body type and movements, without footballs, just watching drills, kind of look at it from a personnel standpoint, where he really stood out, fast, physical, strong, and he's translated that into making some plays. Had a really good day today too.
Go with John Zenner from the AP.
Yeah, hi, Lane. Kind of a more of a bigger picture outlook towards the season, but you've had some pretty good first seasons as head coach and everything. Is that more mindset, personnel, kind of change of attitude? Because you can't really change the personnel at this point, but how much of that is mindset and confidence and everything?
Well, I think at the last place we were, at FAU, we were blessed with some really, really good talent that just for whatever reason hadn't worked out before. And so, we were able to capitalize on that and win 11 games the first year. But I've said before, this is more difficult, with early signing day now. It's hard because you got to wait really 2 years to really change your roster, your second year, because the first year is so hard because so many kids are gone already when you get here. And, we're trying, as you see, some different guys kind of coming out of nowhere. So, and then now with this next year being difficult too, without visits and spring recruiting, it's almost like 3 years till you can dramatically change your roster.
Parish, go ahead.
Lane, are you guys repping John Rice at other positions in the event that he does not become the every down starter?
We don't get into schematical personnel questions, but I can tell you that we're not. So I really broke my own rule. No, that's the last thing we want to do right now. He's in a quarterback competition. If you do that, that'll take away from his development as a quarterback, and he's still really young. So he's just playing quarterback.
All right, we'll go to Nick.
Lane, I know there's only so much you can see from a scrimmage where you don't tackle, but what do you want to see the defense do to take that step forward that maybe they were behind this weekend?
Well, we struggled to line up. Now we go ultra fast on offense, and especially once we get to, a Saturday format where there's not periods broken down. In practice we go slower at times, and we don't in games. So I think that was an adjustment for them, that they struggled with. And so we've got to learn from that, and then guys stepping up with, guys out for multiple reasons, especially our DBs are really shaken up, with some injury and some Corona issues.
Nate, go ahead.
How many different guys are you guys looking at outside of the 3 returners on the offensive line to kind of legitimately have a chance to start there?
A lot. I mean, this is so early, and we started with 40 days before the opener and whatever 25 practices. So, and having no spring ball, our depth chart's really in sand, and so we're moving guys every day to figure it out.
Any other questions for Coach? Nate, go ahead.
I guess just another very general question with what did you kind of look at when you brought in Matt Lindsay as kind of just a GM role? I know you had talked a bunch about kind of building an NFL style program. Not a lot of colleges have like a general manager. What did you ask of him? What do you kind of want? I guess how has that changed over the course of COVID?
Well, it's something that I wanted to do for years now. Just didn't have the resources to do it at FAU, but I just think doing this longer, staffs have gotten bigger, recruiting's more complicated with transfers and portal and all that, I kind of always said for years now, why would we not have general managers? We do in the NFL, and it gives you somebody that can help run the building. You got so much to do as the head coach, especially if you're involved in one side of offense or defense, as opposed to just, CEO, head coach. There's a real use for this. So I did not know him, just had researched a number of guys, and he kept popping up, in the background at Alabama and how that was built there. And so really fortunate to have him, and it helps me a lot. There's a lot of things I don't have to go do, or he can go do, dealing with coaches or different people in the building. And again, nowadays your building's so much bigger than it used to be. We used to have a staff meeting, you used to be able to fit in the staff room. Now you got, I don't even know how many people we got, but we got a lot.
All right, we'll go back to David.
Lane, just what have your early impressions been on your true freshman running backs, Henry Parish and Kentrell Bullock?
Kentrell's a little banged up right now, but he was doing really well. I got banged up Saturday and went back in, so shows some toughness. Henry's done extremely well, made a number of explosive plays, has really impressed not just the coaches, but I feel like the older players as well, someone that I would anticipate playing this season.
Go back to Nick.
You tweeted a couple of days ago, Lane, about the Cade Mays situation at Tennessee. Have you gotten any intel on Otis Reese for you guys? Has he been declined as well, or kind of where's that situation at?
We have not gotten that answer. We have tried. We've asked to get, obviously there's urgency. When they don't, get back to you, you don't know how to rep players. Here's a guy that would be a starter for us, and we don't even know, where do we rep him because we don't know if he's going to play or not. So makes it challenging.
Have there been any conversations about this with the NCAA, or has it kind of been radio silence?
Well, they don't really say like, oh, hey, we're probably going to pass it. I mean, it's either, they go through the process and then give you an answer. So our compliance contacts them. I just wait to hear from our compliance. I do feel really bad for waiver guys. Now that everybody else is getting a year, I really do feel bad that this is kind of a flaw in the system. It's neat what they're doing, giving all players an extra year, and this year doesn't count. But these guys that are sitting, if they don't win a waiver, now they're sitting and really losing that year. So, take someone that's sitting and has 1 year to play the next year. Well, they would have got a free year this year, so they'd have 2 seasons to play. Now someone like that only has 1 season to play. Or like Otis, he would have, if he was here, he'd have 3 seasons to play now. Now he's going to sit and only have 2. So it's pretty neat for everyone else. It's really screwing these guys.
Any more questions for Coach Kiffin? Neil, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I'm curious, with classes starting today, does schedules change? I know you guys are going in the mornings. Do meeting schedules and that kind of thing change effective today?
Not a whole lot, because we never had a training camp. So we were always under this 20-hour rule last week. So we never had the old school training camp where we have them all day long. So really, we were already doing this, and then they were getting out of here, just like this now. They just got to have different lift times now. But as far as our time with them, it's really the same.
Go back to Parish.
Lane, I may have missed this somewhere in the summer, but Dean Leonard, is he a guy who's eligible for you this year, or is he sitting out?
We do not have that answer yet either. We are waiting on that as well.
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, you kind of touched on it with the players getting the extra year. I wanted to know, can you expand on like your thoughts on that, or even alternatives that you may have thought of once you heard that players are getting an extra year, and how do you think that'll impact rosters going forward, with this extra year for players?
Well, as you guys have probably known, we're always trying to figure out different ways to do things or the effect things will have and how to recruit and things like that. So, what I thought of the other day is for the next 4 years, you're going to have a ton of grad transfers, because everyone, and you're going to have two-year grad transfers, which you rarely see because people are going to get done with school, because the year didn't count, but they're still going to get the academics. And so I think you're going to see a ton of grad transfers starting next year, but for the next 4 years, really.
James, go ahead.
And you're going to manage your game roster a little bit different. So now you don't have to worry about the 4-year redshirt thing. You just play whoever you want.
Coach, there are reports coming out of Florida that a bunch of their players didn't show up to their first day of fall practice, and 4 of their projected starters did not return. Has that affected your preparation for playing them week 1 at all, or are you paying attention to that at all?
No, I think that, players, should have rights to do what they want. Be great if those guys decided to opt out, so be a pretty neat deal, for those guys to have an extra year.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time.
Really, you guys know it doesn't affect our planning right now. We're not even looking at a game yet. We're still 5 weeks away.